There we go. And we are live. It's a Tuesday. No, it's not Tuesday. It's a Wednesday afternoon. Why did I get Tuesday? It's a Wednesday afternoon. It's 2:30 p.m. and you are watching Innovation Fika with me, Donny, here, live from Stockholm, Sweden, KTH University in the center of Stockholm. As you know, I go live every Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. with my Innovation Fika. Fika meaning coffee break in Swedish. So it's my innovation coffee break, a 30-minute coffee break where I get to meet interesting people and talk about interesting things. And I do it live because I appreciate the live interaction. And I hope that a lot of you are coming online live today. And just as always, I encourage you to, as you come online, please add there you go, add who you are, where you're from. And there you go. Merry Christmas, David Eriksson. God jul. Wonderful. Happy to see people coming online right away. So, and make sure to network with each other in the comments as well. So as you come online, say who you are, where you're from, and then we'll get the interaction going. And as the broadcast runs on, ask questions. That's why we're doing it live as well. So make sure to ask your questions as we run the show here as well. So see lots of people coming online now. Good, very good, awesome, nice. With that, I will stop talking about myself and my show. I'll just say that everything is recorded on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube after today, you'll find 124 episodes of my Innovation Fika with lots and lots of incredible people, just like today's guest. And all of the things I write, I tend to write a lot daily and weekly on LinkedIn, is also saved on my Medium page on Donny SC Ligonis. You can go there. And with that, I'll introduce our guest. In from Green Room and Lund, I welcome on stage Oscar Berg. Oscar Berg, welcome into the studio.
Thank you, Donny. Great to be
Wonderful
here.
to have you here. Thank you for joining the world's fastest half an hour, and I hope we get lots of cool, good comments and questions as well from the audience. But when we start, I'll ask you the same thing I ask all of my other guests. Oscar, who are you and what do you do?
Short version, I'm Oscar Berg. I live in Lund in south of Sweden. I'm a consultant and expert on digital collaboration, basically meaning like how to work smarter together using digital technologies. So, and I have 7 children, so I know what collaboration is about and how it can fail.
Did you say several or seven?
7.
Oh, wow.
So I have a kind of my own like explore different ways of collaborating or how to fail at home.
Indeed.
So
And how old are the kids now?
from like the oldest is 22 and the youngest is 2. So like 20
Oh, okay.
years
Well,
in between.
that sounds like you have a bunch of them that are kind of digital natives as well when it comes to
Yeah,
growing up. Yeah.
yes, and in every phase of school,
Oh, okay.
I have
Yeah.
one child. So
Okay. From the old modem and Nokia 1221s to the
yeah,
smartphones.
they exactly they have experienced like different experience of the like
Okay,
latest
cool. But and
last
you actually have
20
a new
years.
book coming out as well. I know that the English version of a new book coming out,
Yeah,
right?
we have a book in Swedish called Digitalt samarbete, digital collaboration will be the title in English that we are translating right now. And
Yeah.
we did the same thing. My co-author and me did the same thing with our previous book about the digital workplaces. So we started with the Swedish version and then translated it to English. So we kind of use Sweden as a test bed
Yeah.
for this
Cool.
our concepts and ideas.
Excellent. And if anybody's interested, you can go to I'll be showing this webinar a couple of times, but if you go to barrygustafsson.com/books, you'll actually see the upcoming English cover of the new book,
Yeah, yeah,
digital collaboration. Okay,
yes.
now let's talk about digital collaboration, and then I'll ask you the first provocative question, saying,
Mm.
yeah, but didn't sort of the pandemic teach us everything about the digital collaboration that we need to know? Aren't we sort of already there?
Yeah, we are. No, I'm kidding. If I'm allowed to be a bit sarcastic, a lot of us or a lot of organizations we just paved cow paths. Like we translated are always working to the digital realm, like we translate or for instead of having physical meetings, we have digital meetings, we have video meetings, and for someone like me who has been working with virtual teams and distributed teams using digital technologies, it was kind of a shock because we never had video meetings basically, and all of a sudden everyone should be in a video meeting with their video turned on, but that's not how most distributed organizations work. They work together. They don't look at each other all the time.
Yeah,
So we work together in like different tools, and then of course we have meetings where we see each other once in a while. But that's not the primary way to collaborate, which a lot is. It's how it works in most organizations. Meetings,
yeah.
meetings, meetings.
That's really really interesting because what you're describing is you're taking an analog sort of system as an organization, and then you're just
Mm.
placing a digital layer on top of that and hoping it's going to work the same kind of way.
Yeah.
And I actually haven't thought about it, but now that you said
Mhm.
it, and this is why I love these conversations because people I learn things all the time. Is that I mean I've started a number of companies with people I've never met
Mm.
online, and I still haven't met them. I've known them for years, I've never
Mm.
ever met them.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I must say, I realize now we have had almost no video meetings. I mean, we don't have video meetings. It's like we just have collaboration. Well, either
Exactly.
asynchronous on email, or we have like a chat in Slack or other
You
tools.
have this all these micro interactions that over time you get to know each other, and you interact with each other via different artifacts or things you create, not necessarily by looking at each other, especially not like in this like big meetings that we have become used to with like 8, 12, or even more people just staring at the screen and 12 faces, and that's terrifying to most people,
Yeah,
just to look at 12 people at the same time, because then you're like you're probably either you're the leader or you're going to be pushed out of the sort of the wolf pack.
yeah.
So that's not a good situation for most of us. It's not natural, definitely not natural.
But okay, so there's one thing about small companies that grow up in a virtual environment. I mean, they don't know
Mm,
anything else, more or less, so
no.
they can
Mm,
have it natural. It's like kids that grow up as digital natives. But
mm,
then what's it like actually trying to change something then? If you're talking about digital collaboration with a big incumbent company, like a big
mm,
100-year-old organization, I
mm.
mean, how do they go about this, and what do you say to them?
I'm quite stubborn, and you have to be really stubborn, and you have to tell them to be really stubborn. And this is you have to. This is a long, like a marathon race, or even like you have to get a process in place. It's not
Mhm.
just you can't just deploy tools and perform some training sessions and then it's over. Uh, you have to work with a transformation of how you work together, but also how you think about collaboration and how we work together. And of course, a lot of organizations don't really listen to that. So they just want to fix things here and now. So, but the reason why I'm trying again and again and again is because I like challenges, and it's really then about finding the right company that is like open to it, and then
Yeah.
and some organizations really aren't. So I choose not to work with them. So
Yeah, well, that's. I mean, if when I speak to, I mean, I work as a business coach here at the universities,
mm,
and I
mm,
work with students and researchers, and also lots of startups in general. And my most common advice is, don't jump in the deep end when you're trying to learn how to swim. I mean, start with some
mm,
easy wins.
yeah,
Start where you can swim, and then you can move into the harder. You don't start by jumping into the deep end with the sharks, and the first thing you
no,
do. I mean, because then you won't get.
no, no,
Nothing will work. So don't start
no. The
there.
more exactly the practical approach would be to when changing ways of working would be to start at team level, of course. to just like team by team establish new ways of working. But you
Yeah.
also need to have some kind of support and commitment from leadership, because you need to have to make it sustainable. You need to make some investments in structures and to support this over time. Otherwise, it will fall apart. When the members leave, or like when the employees leave, or the project ends, or whatever, it will just fall apart. So you have to like that's the same thing with all like old structures in the companies, processes and like or hierarchies. You have to put some kind of structures in place to keep it ongoing.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that organizations do wrong when it comes to collaboration. They think it will happen automatically, like
Yeah.
like just deploy the tools and then people know how to collaborate, so they just start using the tools, and they, by the way, they don't have to invest any time or energy in this, because so they can continue with the work as if they don't have anything more new to learn or agree upon. uh, and that's how things end. Like they have tools deployed, but no real change is
Yeah.
happening. So
Mhm.
that's why I try to teach them. You have to invest in this. You have to take it seriously, because if you think about it, collaboration is like, it, I know it, because we worked in small companies and started like worked in startups, and before you have processes in place, that collaboration is everything. And then
Mhm.
eventually you put processes in place and scale up the business. But what are these processes? Those are really about collaboration as well. It's just that it's automated, it's structured, it's repeatable, and after a while you don't think about it as collaboration. And that's what has happened in most incumbent organizations. They don't think about what they do as collaboration. They do more
Mhm.
think about it as a machine.
Yeah.
But they need to think about it as collaboration. And the more creative they need to become, and the more volatile the business environment becomes, the more agile they need to become, the more they need to collaborate directly with each other, not
Mhm.
via processes and systems, but like you and me interacting
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
working together. Yeah.
I'll just say to everyone out there, I know that we have a number of people watching. So post questions in the feed now as we go along, because this is only a 3-minute quick break, and I see one coming in here from Avanti. Good to see you again, Avanti. Happy to see you back here. Oscar, really exciting work being showcased here. My question is, how do we build trust within teams in a short time, and also probably in a virtual environment?
By communicating openly and freely with each other, and setting some sort of game rules of the game, or so to speak. If you look at online gaming, for example, like all these massive online games, you can create teams quite rapidly, like with people coming from all different kinds of backgrounds from all over the world, and what they put focus on is the communication. Like so they establish some rules, like what you can say and what you can't say. And of course they collaborate with each other, and they also play with each other, not just in these massive online games, but also in other games, just to practice and get to know each other. So it's like building trust is all about communicating and being open, and being showing that you're vulnerable, and having this safe like place where you can be open and be vulnerable and so forth. So it's all about communication, and you can do that online or offline.
I
Uh,
think that was a really good example, though, because on the online games, there is an enormous amount of trust connected to the task at hand.
yeah,
That doesn't mean that there's trust in everything else, but at least for the task at hand, I trust my teammates in actually trying to help me achieve the goal
and
here and now.
you also have a very important thing that you need to start collaborating. You have a common goal or a
Yeah.
mission or something that you work towards together, and that's often missing in a lot of organizations. You pick people from here and there and then put them in a team, and
Mm.
they don't have that clear goal and so forth. They don't have any relationship. They don't know why they are in that team. So how do you build trust? It's much easier to build trust if you have some of those things, like the common purpose. If you have that already, will be much easier to trust other people. If you have relationships, of course, interpersonal relationships between the members of a team, of course, it will be easier. But it also helps to have common ways of working, that you know how to and behave. So you know how to behave and communicate in this context. Then you will have to spend less time in this forming, norming, storming, performing process where you like spend most of the time of the project just getting the team together and trusting each other, and then hopefully at the end becoming productive.
That's really interesting. I think the common goal thing is something that we organize, not even we, organizations that fail. There's like a post thing that they put in afterwards, as you say. You form a team, and then you try and sort of invent this common goal.
And the typical way of mobilizing a team is managers pick people from their teams, put them in another team, and they have this like it's not voluntary. It's not, they might not even be interested in this, and then they maybe articulate a goal. That or just solve this or together. So it's not the best conditions to have when you start a collaboration.
No. Here's another one from Andre. Hey Andre, good to see you as well. Another really good friend here in the network. Effective teams in the gaming world is a great example. Talk about focus, effort, and result. Indeed. I mean, why don't we even talking to Oscar, it just seems so obvious, right?
I actually there's some research. I looked into research about massive online games, and the interesting thing is a common misconception is that the people who play games are antisocial, non-social, but they actually are social, and they develop their social skills in such a good way, so they can do this only not just online but offline. So the future leaders will probably be trained in these environments and not be trained in the typical leadership or programs. But the traits you need to have as a leader is the kind of traits that you develop in these online games and communities.
Okay, I'm just not changing the subject, but kind of coming back to where we were when it comes to teaching old dogs how to sit, like old. So I'm being a bit sarcastic, and I have to be clear on a sign. This following episode will contain flashing lights, so this is going to be sarcasm here. So I have a big company. Well, then I'll just spend $1 million in this 3D environment where we can walk around as 3D avatars and have meetings in 3D, and everything will be perfect, right?
Yeah, you remember the early days of computers?
Yes.
And you probably know Marshall McLuhan, the old theorist, like he said, who coined the term or expression, the medium is the message. Like when we learn a new medium, we immediately use it as with ideas and things that we have, like carry with us, and just build this old thing in the new. Like, so what they are trying to do is, like, when we got computers, we may use them as typewriters basically, and didn't see some sort of marvel and the many opportunities that lie, like the early programmers and so forth. They understood what computers could eventually do, but most people, when they saw computers, saw a typewriter and a way to write things and not having to use Tipex to erase any misspellings, misspelled words, etc. And then they printed it. Then they printed it, and that's how a lot of people and organizations look at new media, like 3D immersive environment. They say, oh, then we can just recreate the office in this environment. They're not looking at it as freely as you need to do to understand how you can use it in other more productive ways.
Yeah, I mean, I as a speaker, I especially during the pandemic, I was invited to a number of conferences, and I was supposed to enter this 3D environment and then I was going to walk to an arena where there were a bunch of people sitting, and then I was going to down. I'm sorry for doing this thing, but it felt like I was doing.
Yeah.
And then
I,
I was down on the stage, and I was this podium, and I was then looking this my avatar. I was looking at my avatar. That was looking at an audience, and I was
mm,
talking. Yeah, and it was a video window of me. And it was
mm,
just such a surreal, unexcused expression. It was just a bad experience of
yeah.
the whole thing.
But in some cases, like we like to have this like simulated physical environment, like it's familiar to us. So I can understand it in some way, but also it's weird that you bring the sort of constraints of the real world into the digital world where you don't have any constraints. So what would happen if we would think about the digital world as a world without constraints? Then we can do
Yeah,
things in a new way, in a smarter way. And
of
I
course.
don't. I think a lot like most people have a hard time doing that, and me as well. Like you have to immerse yourself into this medium. You have to
Yeah,
explore it. You have to find the use cases. They will emerge, but you can't just find them without trying, without like exploring it.
mm, yeah,
So I think that's the key. They need to start exploring
yeah. I
and
mean,
not
I
just
won't disqualify every single metaverse 3D environment. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that
no.
when you try and sort of, as you were talking about in the beginning, when you try and draw a straight line between what does our work environment look today, and let's make that
Yeah,
in a straight
exactly.
line over to digital, it doesn't transfer in the same kind of way. It needs something else.
Exactly. You need to be able to build houses in the clouds or whatever you can do in Minecraft, or that's something they they're doing something different, something you can't
Yeah,
do in the physical world. But then you can, of course,
exactly.
use the analogies, or you can use familiar things from the physical world, so it makes it easy to interact and
Yeah.
navigate in it. But not just replicating the physical world. That's
Not true.
nonsense.
I'm looking at it's eight. Oh, look, it's 14:52. Whoosh! The
Yeah.
world's fastest half an hour.
Yeah.
And Oscar, as all our other distinguished guests, has promised to leave us with three key learnings from this when it comes to digital collaboration and what to think about, and maybe not what to think about. So let's start by
Mm,
going through Oscar Berg's top three tips, and then we can elaborate around them and also close up and round up afterwards.
mm,
But tip number
mm.
one is don't underestimate shared work methods. What do you mean by
Yeah.
that?
It's this kind of framework that I talked about, that we know how to behave and how to work together, like in the massive online games. So if you have that in place, it will be much easier to create teams, and you don't have to start from zero every time you start a new collaboration. If we agree upon things and we are familiar how to work together, it will be much easier to start collaborating and doing stuff for real
Yeah.
in those collaborations.
I
So
can
that's
an
the
example from, yeah, an example from
yeah.
my workplace is that, I mean, pre-pandemic we started working in Slack as
Mm.
in a collaboration tool,
Yeah, yeah.
and that actually changed our way of working a lot, because I was used to it previously, but it
Mm,
sort of the amount of emails went down, and then we had
yeah.
this micro interaction, even though we were in this kind of physically same office. But then the distinction between being exactly beside each other or somebody being at home was smaller,
Mm,
because we were always
mm,
sort of micro interacting on Slack,
mm.
and that was a way for us to sort of find, but that took a way of, as you were saying, also finding a new common language of how do we behave in this
And
place.
also choosing the channels, the media, because like in a lot of organizations, you're still allowed or like to do as you want to. Like if you want to use email, and
Yeah,
you can use it next to Slack or Teams. So then it's really confusing. Where do I do what? Like we need to
yeah,
agree upon how to communicate with each other, like at least what channels to have
yeah,
or use, and which ones we shouldn't use.
yeah. Well, then of course I'll put us, not me, on our, because
Mm,
we're very big on structure and documents
mm,
and
mm.
everything.
Yeah.
So we
Mm.
actually have a document now outlining what do we do in which channels, and which channels do we use for what, and what don't we do.
Good, good. A lot of organizations don't have
Wow,
that.
look at that.
So that's a good starting point.
Yeah, excellent. Good starting point. We should
Mm,
have a fourth tip on that one. Tip number 2, think digital first.
Yeah, this is really about not getting stuck in this, office versus work from the office, work from home, sort of conflict or discussion. Because if you think digital first and work and communicate digitally, you can do that wherever you are. So that becomes a non-issue. And we already were distributed as organizations before the pandemic, like our different offices. We're traveling and we're not on the same floor. Everyone is not on the same floor or in the same room. So why not use digital communication technologies as a foundation for collaboration wherever we are, and not talk about work from home or work from the office, because that becomes irrelevant if we have a common way of working and thinking digital first.
And I love the way you put words to that. Again, it's something that I haven't been able to say, but feel, because what I always say that the internal communication of a company, it uh, starts falling apart when you separate floors. If you're on the same
Yeah,
floor as other people, there's like
yeah.
you can us here, right? But as soon as you go, then you have different.
Yeah,
That's what
and that's also proven by science for since 50 years back, that that's actually true. Like you
oh,
communicate, you don't communicate spontaneously with someone who's like 50 feet away. So it's already 50 feet if you're on the same floor. If you're on a different floor, it's like 0.1% chance probability of communicating with someone like spontaneously. So
we should do another episode on this, because this is like
yeah,
all this is super super interesting. We have the number 3.
yeah,
Number 3.
yeah.
Sorry.
Go on, go
Start
on.
by. We'll come back to that one, but start by building workplace awareness.
Yeah, and this is really related to this discussion about like you won't meet anyone spontaneously or to communicate with someone spontaneously if they are 50 feet away. So how do you build workplace awareness? What's happening around you in the workplace? Well, it's quite easy within the same room. You can talk to people and who are close to you. But how do you know what's going on in the organization? Like the typical, like traditional way is to run away to the coffee station and through the corridors, and that's only the vice presidents can gain some kind of awareness what's happening, because they will meet other vice presidents with a lot of reported information to them. So they can. That's why they often want to bring people back to the office, because they see that they will get a
Oh,
lot of workplace awareness. But most people don't have time to run around in the corridors by the coffee machine, and the bandwidth of that is very small. What's the chance of how much information can you actually acquire that way? And this is really about workplace awareness. We need to use smarter ways to become aware of what's happening in the organization. And if you think digital first, you work digital first, you will also make this visible. You will make work visible, and you can use technology to help us build workplace awareness. Like you can imagine AI coming into the picture to actually alert us about important things we need to know. And
yeah.
this is all what like Microsoft's AI sort of value proposition. That they can use the Copilot and their AI not just to help you create presentations better, but also to connect you to the right people and to find resources that someone else might have written the same thing,
Yeah.
etc. So it's all about workplace awareness.
Yeah. I think that the whole enterprise AI thing is going to be the much bigger thing than anything else. Comment from Avanti. Thank you, Avanti. Thank you, Tony, for bringing Oscar's perspective and tips. As always, this is the fastest 30 minutes. More power to Innovation Fika. Yay. Thank you, Avanti. And thank you for asking the questions, Avanti. Awesome. It actually is 14:59, Oscar. I know that I'm
Cool.
sorry for cutting you short. You had a comment there as well at the next show we're going to do
Nothing left to say.
so much left to say. I will say thank you so very much, Oscar. I'll do one more thing for you and for everybody else. Go to barrygustafsson.com/books. Check out I think you can sign up there for the new book when it's
Yeah, you
translated.
can.
You can also buy
I
it in
think
Swedish.
I think so. Yeah, I
You
think
think
so.
so? Yes. Check
Yeah.
out that one. And with that, I will say thank you, everyone. Tune in next week again, 2:30 p.m. And thank you so much, Oscar, for your half an
Thanks a
hour.
lot.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care,
Nice to be
everyone.
here.
Bye for today.
Bye.
That's a